All right, so gonna try not to break the camera. Intra, pre, no post, not yet. All right, this is what a day-to-day looks like. And you're probably wondering why I'm here at the kitchen table. Because I eat 5 times a day, and what I realized is I was losing way too much time in my day eating or walking this guy. So now I leave my laptop here and I'm able to eat and work. I'll finish this and then he'll follow me back upstairs. So what we'll do, I definitely just messed up the zoomed in too much there. I don't know what this is doing.
Go squeeze. It's applesauce.
So now cream of rice, my pre-workout meal. Gonna edit Johnny's plan, write a new training program. Cheers.
Hello.
Good morning.
Sorry, it was like loading for a while.
No, you're fine. So, gonna try not to break the camera. Intra, pre, no post, not yet. Okay guys, so something a little different today. We're gonna try and do a voiceover versus just an actual training vlog, I guess. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through exercise by exercise and we'll show what my thought process is or what I'm trying to do. So this first exercise here is I'm going through 2 different positions, one being the lengthened position. And now as I walked back on these, the reps are actually pretty sloppy, but that's a key to record your training there. First exercise is actually just taking a lengthened position. So we're just aiming to get the muscle in the stretch position. And then we're supersetting that with a push down where you can overload, use your body weight to push down on the actual tricep and get a little bit more out of it. The second exercise here is the same thing, but for biceps. So we'll have one where we're facing and one where we're facing away. So facing towards is going to be closer to like a preacher curl, the contraction position. And then the second one is going to be facing away, the lengthened position where you get that arm back as far as you possibly can behind your body. The third one here is a skull crusher superset it with hammer curls. And what we're just aiming to do is, again, I'm just going back and forth between the muscles. And if you look here, I'll actually take and squeeze the non-working muscle in the bottom position. So when I'm doing these hammer curls at the bottom, I'm actually flexing the tricep. And when I'm doing the skull crushers in the stretch position, I'm actually flexing the bicep. So you can get a little bit of both out of these. And then to finish out, we jump into another superset. Again, some push downs, supersetted with preacher curls. The one thing that I've kind of focused on since transitioning to training arms is really just getting a bunch of blood into the muscle. Not so much the execution. I'll keep good tempos, but as things get a little bit sloppier, I'll let the form slide and I'll just take and bounce back and forth between really just pumping those reps out. And because of the fact that it's not a muscle that you could really get hurt on, I'll let the form get a little bit sloppier. Like if you look at these preacher curls here, I'll take and focus on just throwing the arms up as far as I can and going from there. As I get through this, I do have a touch up on lateral delts here. So these are Y raises. When you're going here, you just think of lifting into the Y. When I'm going through this, I'm just kind of playing like the YMCA song in my head. And you're just going to focus on lifting out and up. So it's more of like a lifting at a 10 and 2 position and lifting straight vertically versus lifting out. And then here's me posing at 235 pounds post third push. Initial thoughts are I look fat. No, I'm generally happy with this. Going through my gut protocol now, which we may do a different video on. Couple things is I met with like my first posing coach and we had some videos and our first session, and what we focused on was really just learning the quarter turns and the transitions into each shot, which as you can see, I'm still trying to work on these, spinning my legs, planting my feet. Posing starts from the ground up. So you'll notice in these videos, I kind of reset my feet a couple times because I have the steps down, but I don't quite have the transition down to where I step and it's in the right spot first attempt. So I'll step, transition, and go through there. But hamstring looks juicy. Cam was so polite to point out that I had a bad injection and there's a nipple on my ass. Same thing here. Let's cover that up. I need to plant the feet the first time correctly. And then I'm kind of working on opening up here into the actual back double to spread things, but I'll be happy to see what this looks like when I'm a touch leaner and I don't quite have so much of a love handle there. The taper should look a bit more dramatic. You can see there, that's supposed to actually be 2 steps versus 3 steps of spinning around. But body composition can still pull a vacuum, still have abs. Relatively happy with everything here in terms of how these pushes went. It's definitely the biggest I've ever been. Arms look really, really full. Surprisingly, I'm happy with the size that they have. But you can see here, I can't even control my breathing to pull a vacuum in my front lat. So we're going to transition to the topic of this actual video now. Okay, so a little bit different type of YouTube here. Obviously, you got to see some of the workout, kind of like what my day-to-day looks like. But today's topic, as we hinted at, is going to be me being the worst classic physique competitor. And that's primarily just because I haven't stepped on stage yet. It's been, by the time I will have stepped on stage, will it be over 2 years since the last time I competed. And there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of nervousness, just a lot of things that come with that overall. And the things that I battled in that time, I can't express to you guys. Some of them being just like, honestly, belief in myself. And a lot of that has to do with the sheer fact of, and everyone battles it, everyone does. But what I will say is when you're in such a prolonged off season, 2 things kind of happen. The first being it's very hard to stay executing at a very high level for 100 and something weeks. And I will be the first to admit that I had my trials and tribulations within that. And I always thought that like what was going to be perfect on paper was me having this 2-year off season where I'll just execute just like I did in prep. And you know, the end result will be this crazy thing where I'll put on like this crazy transformation, this amount of muscle that is just unheard of. And I think part of me did do that. Part of me also kind of fell out of love with the sport, to like be honest with you, just because I haven't been on stage in so long. So I'm a little nervous right now, and I'm gonna open up with you guys that you know, like I did all of this and there's points where I was asking Andre, like, why am I even doing this? Why am I force feeding myself? I'm so tired of eating food. We couldn't enjoy date night. You know, I have a GI protocol that I have to go right now to kill H. pylori, and that's gonna take about 6 to 8 weeks. So like just that prolonged goal is so hard to stay truly locked in. It's just like when you start as a freshman in college, right? You're not thinking about graduating, you're just looking at the semesters. And so if I could give any advice to each and every one of you is break it up into periods. Don't get so focused on the bigger picture. Put your quarterly goals, put like the thing that you want to improve. And that could be like, I want to see my back improve this push. I want to see whatever improve. Now, what I will say is there's quite a few of you, and probably even myself, I don't know if I will ever do another 2-year off season. One, because the division that I want to compete in, which is classic physique, is the highest amount of muscle that I want. And everyone's kind of saying like, oh, you should go to 212, you should go to bodybuilding, go to open. I don't ever see that happening. So those of you who are commenting that, I'm sorry to let you know, that will never happen. I will never go to open bodybuilding. The food amounts that come with that absolutely scare me. And two, for those of you who struggle with staying locked in, just compete. Compete. To be completely honest, it's not going to be perfect, but what's perfect on paper is not always going to be perfect to that individual. And that was something I had to really learn these past 2 years through trials and tribulations of losing competitors, quite frankly, because I wanted to put them through this perfect push. And okay, we'd come out of the show, health phase, push, health phase, compete, right? Or maybe they needed 3 pushes. So could you imagine that's 60 something weeks there? And what I came to realize is, again, very few of you can execute like that. So what I recommended is go through that, compete, maybe do just 1 push, maybe. And this is the beauty in bodybuilding. It's bodybuilding. Okay. It's not body built. So getting to that end goal quicker doesn't necessarily mean better, right? And if you enjoy the journey, you enjoy the process, then this will be a lot more fun. Because I will tell you, the rigidness of constantly taking and doing the day in and day out, the monotony, that's what really took a beating on me these last 2 years. I enjoyed it, I did, but there was times where I didn't enjoy it. There was times where I couldn't see the bigger picture. I couldn't see, for lack of reference, that graduation coming. And so that's why I'm so excited to diet down now and see, what is it, like the fruits of my labor, the hard work paying off, and being able to showcase that. So if I could give any of you any advice, is just understand what's going to come with both and enjoy the process. Whatever that process may be, how long it may take, just enjoy it. Because if I were to ask you right now, if you couldn't do this anymore, what would you do? And if you start getting anxiety, you start freaking out, that's a sure thing to tell you and remind you it's not going to last forever.